I don't want to risk or run the wrath or invoke the wrath of the advertising community. Certainly print media, CPM-based, traditional CPM-based, has its place. The question that I think we ask ourselves is, how do I draw a direct correlation between what I'm spending on CPM versus what I'm seeing on the revenue line of the business? And even then I said the word correlation, not causation. So we saw this evolution that occurred. I went from traditional print and then printed media, particularly broadcast media. I then went to web-based, and so it was still somewhat broadcast, but I began to feel differently. I began to have more interaction with the community, so I could get web metrics. I could look at click-throughs, I could look at dwell times. I mean, there was a lot of things I could know as I became more digital. Still, however, it was difficult to say these actions and these investments in advertising, in marketing, in customer information, in selling even, though that one's more direct, had this direct revenue connection. So we then moved on, right? And I began to do sentiment analysis and listening post activities, which allowed me to go into the actual consumer. And by the way, this would apply to employee or supplier, but let's talk about it in the customer consumer space. Go in and actually understand their sentiment. Some challenges with that we have learned, certainly valuable to do, a lot of interesting insight that you could never otherwise glean, but there is the loud voice syndrome, where someone can choose to dominate or redirect, and then there is the complication of understanding some of the language subtleties that create a perhaps misapprehension, so it's just difficult. Natural language processing can be difficult. So listening posts, very good. Then I discovered that I can actually become more proactive, or at least become more actionable around that sentiment. Not just listening, but acting with command centers. So I'd go listen, I'd run campaigns, I'd communicate with the marketplace in the traditional ways. I would listen to the marketplace through the social sphere and blogosphere and these with listening post activities, and I would choose to act on a customer care or one-to-one messaging or micro-segmentation basis to do that, to retune my message, to respond to a customer issue. Interestingly, even to learn about my operational realities, because my customers are sitting perhaps in the geos or in the segments, they're responding, and I can learn something about my operational realities from them. What we said this year is it's actually possible to go one notch closer to understanding direct causality, understanding direct correlation, and we would actually put forward creating direct causality. And this is the idea of taking the message that you have, and I want to use the term meme specifically because we say meme, and in the technical industry it has a particular flavor. I know in marketing and advertising there's a particular flavor, but it is the mimetic theme. That's where the word came from. So it's something that engages you in ways beyond just the top level, engages you in emotionally, right? So if you take your message and you formulate the message correctly, if you formulate the meme correctly, then you can communicate that to your first level network, allowing them to reformulate it in their words, that is to express it in their meme to their network, and so on and so on, that magic multiplication of they tell two friends. It sounds very simple, and in fact, it's not that complex. So you say, why weren't we doing it instead of command center, instead of listening post, instead of web metrics, instead of, right? Well, times have changed, technology has matured, trends have moved forward. I now actually literally have a way to know who my first level network are. I have a way to reliably communicate my meme and sense their response back, right? As do they, and it's become a cultural norm to use these digital channels to do that thing. So it's only really now that we have reached, I think, not only technologically but culturally, socially, a place where this will propagate itself. And not just in Western culture. This is true in most but not all cultures. So I now can actually create and insert the message, the meme, watch it propagate, literally watch it propagate across the network, and test perhaps correlated, but I believe you can actually get to causal outcomes, not just one but two or even three levels into the network.